This is Golden Years, a roadmap to navigate retirement with Mark Cordner, the podcast.
The number one fear planning for retirement is, of course, running out of money, right? That would be the worst thing that could happen to any of us. Well, according to research, 62% of Americans don't know how long their money will last in retirement. And among their biggest concerns were inflation, healthcare, living into their 90s, and the uncertain markets. So what is your process of building a retirement plan? So when all these things happen, I mean, there's so many different moving parts and variables.
Yeah, so there's a template that we use, just like any general contractor uses a process to build a home. We have our processes that we follow, and so there's some of the same principles, but the application is different depending on the design of the dream house, as it were. So we're always taking people through a multi-step process where we're doing income planning as one of the first things we're doing out of the gate. We're doing a tax analysis for them, showing them how to keep more of the money that they've earned. We're absolutely addressing health care because long-term care in particular is the number one time bomb that blows up people's retirement plans, and literally 97% of Americans have not prepared for that horrendous probability. There's investment management, of course. There's all sorts of liability management. We're talking about market-based risk, for example, the likelihood of taxes increasing. Market-based risk is actually one of the biggest ones for people because I find, 34 years of doing this, as people get older, they tend to go into more of a protective kind of mode. They want to conserve what they've spent their lives accumulating. So we can show them ways to grow their money in a safe environment and also show them how to use less of that money to create the guaranteed income streams that they need so that if they want to leave more of the money in the market, they can. So legacy planning is really the final big one, and that is, from an estate planning standpoint, who do you want to bless with the fruit of your life work? And, is that kids? Is it grandkids? Is it maybe some nonprofits or charities that are close to your heart, your church, whoever? We absolutely can help them multiply their impact on the world with some of the estate planning strategies that we implement. So, there's a multi-step process. Some of the steps appeal to certain people more than to others, and so we kind of lay out for people what those options are, and then they can tell us what their priorities are, and we'll custom design plans that get the outcomes that they're looking for.
And you talk about these custom designed plans and, of course, it being a multi-step process. Again, I say this and I say this and I say this. It's a multi-step process and there's tons of options because everybody's situation is different. Oh, yeah. This is not a situation where it's like you're looking at a menu from fast food and you go, I want option 2 with a large Coke. I mean, that's not what it is. Everything's going to be custom and tailored specifically to you, for you. And again, it's answering those questions. Have I saved enough? Am I going to run out of money? And then seeing in black and white in this plan how exactly Mark lays it out and says, look, you're not going to run out of money. We've actually got this plan for inflation. We've got this plan for taxes or the cost of healthcare. And then, oh, by the way, remember that trip you said to Europe you wanted to go on? We've already accounted for that as well. So it's all about having this conversation for this income and portfolio review. That phone number, 702-996-4050, 702-996-4050. That website, mygoldenyearsroadmap.com. I can't believe this. There are roughly 11 million single women that are 65 and older in the U.S., and many are widowed or divorced or just don't have a family. And most of these solo agers are navigating retirement without a spouse to lean on. So what special issue does this present? And then why is getting help of a financial advisor especially important to these folks?
Oh, wow. Yeah, this is really close to my heart. 3 out of 4 women go into retirement or experience retirement as a single person, and that's either by choice or by circumstance. So you mentioned, becoming a widow or maybe getting divorced. Again, choice or circumstances, things happen to us. And these are people who often nowadays don't have children or a support network because family is spread out across the country. And so they need someone to work with and maybe be a sounding board to help them make decisions. But most importantly, in my mind, is this idea of as we age and we become more frail mentally and physically, we're going to need help making decisions and actually making sure that our care is being provided in the manner that we most desire. This idea of long-term care or hands-on assistance as we age is phenomenally important, particularly for women, because women tend to outlive men, and age 83 is the average age when dementia in some form tends to hit people. And so who's going to provide that care if there's not a spouse? I literally had this conversation last week with a single fellow that came in. He retired from the FBI at a relatively young age, got great pensions. He was a phenomenal saver over the years. And we're meeting again here in a few days. But this was the thing that drove him, we had this class, and he heard this idea about who's going to take care of me kind of thing. Youngest of the family, older siblings are probably going to be gone. If there's not close ties to nieces and nephews, who's going to take care of me? And so these are real issues about who's going to coordinate the care, how are we going to pay for it, and we help people navigate that process and get the plans in place well in advance, to make sure things are taken care of. Sometimes it involves an attorney. We do a class here in the office called Beyond the Legal Documents, because there's many issues that the attorneys don't address that we can help the clients with. So I'm really glad you brought this up, because these single women, and they're just kind of dear to my heart because I deal with so many widows and just loved working with them. But these are some very serious issues, and we're able to be an important part of their lives, and they in turn become an important part of ours.
Absolutely. And if you're listening to this and bells are going off and you're thinking, man, I need to sit down with Mark, I just don't know how to get started, I don't know what to do. Well, the very first thing you do is you pick up the phone today, you be proactive, and you say, look, I want to get together with you, man. Let's figure this out. I have so many different questions, and we'll get you on the calendar. Again, that phone number is 702-996-4050, 702-996-4050. And again, that website, mygoldenyearsroadmap.com. Now, think about this. I mean, do you ever notice possibly the way you react to prices, Mark? It really depends on how you were raised. For instance, I remember my grandmother telling me stories about, you can get a hot dog and a Coke for 10 cents, or, your boyfriend could take you to the movies for a couple dollars. And if you were raised with that kind of mentality, oh my God, especially today, my grandmother, she would be astonished at these prices.
Yeah, I'm mortified. I just had this conversation with my wife going over some of our bills and just was dumbfounded at how much certain costs have increased. Our insurance having quadrupled in the last 6 years. How does this happen? It's just bizarre. But, so much about our life experience shapes the way that we view money. And I can think of so many examples of this. For some people, it's trauma-induced, as it were. There's someone very close to me. She was raised in a situation where the large family, a lot of kids, and there was the impression that they didn't have any money, that they were poor, and that if you didn't eat what was on the table today, it might not return to the table kind of thing. And it was actually never that bad, but that was the perception that they had. And for many people, belief is reality. And so if the belief was, you got to eat what's on the table now because it may not return, then what happens is you don't ever become a good saver. You consume whatever you get. There's an old expression among the farmers that don't eat your seed corn, meaning some of the harvest, those seeds need to be reserved, held back for planting in the next season. And for many of us, if you eat the entire harvest, then there's nothing to plant forward. And so this idea of savings is so critically important, but for some people who have been traumatized by certain life experience, we certainly think of the Depression era people who became such incredible savers. I remember when my wife's grandmother died, we were finding rolls of dollars in the oddest places. She lived through a difficult time, and so she always wanted to have money, and so it was squirreled away in the oddest places. There's a great book written by Podarsky, I think was his name. He was a PhD. He wrote a book called Till Debt Do Us Part that actually talked about these ideas of our financial experiences as children and our birth order and different things, how they affect the way we approach money. And it was amazing from a marital harmony standpoint. Getting people on the same page. This is one of the great challenges for couples, honestly, is that when we're raised with different experiences, how do we come together so that we actually can live our combined dreams without sabotaging one another inadvertently? Maybe there's shame or something about spending money, or there's just not an openness about talking about what's actually happening, and then a spouse discovers that later. So, sorry, I can go off on this concept, but this is a critical issue, and here's one of the ways that financial advisors help. Certainly when it comes to retirement planning, I can help couples get on the same page. And we often find that couples are not. They thought that they were on the same page. Matter of fact, I can think of 4 different couples who, during my career, between the first conversation and the second conversation we had, decided not to stay together as a couple because they come to realize that their views about things are so much different. And it's really, really critically important that couples in particular come together on these issues before they go into retirement, because the silver divorce, or divorce for people over age 60, is the largest demographic for divorce. Again, I'm going too far on this concept, but yes, the way we approach money is affected by our life experiences, and that's sometimes where a financial advisor is such great help. We can help couples get on the same page and actually understand what are our opportunities, what's real.
Yeah, I mean, wow. I mean, that is so essential. You talk about getting on the same page. What are the opportunities? What is real? I'm still thinking about that couple that came in and met with you, then all of a sudden said, hey, forget these 20 or 30 years we've been together. This isn't working out. And it took them that long to have a discussion about their money, their financial future, their future together. I mean, wow. You talk about a big life change right there. And here's the deal. I mean, we talked about it. You talked about, some folks that lived through the Depression. They're hiding money in vacuums, hiding monies in brick wall. My grandmother did that. She did it in the ice maker thing. She used to hide jewelry. I mean, when she passed away, it was like no rock unturned. I mean, literally look under everything. But those are people that have lived through the Depression, right? Retirees who are financially prepared, but sometimes they hesitate spending because of how they were raised around money. I mean, you're touching on this. So sometimes you have to literally look at somebody and go, guys, your financial future is set. Yes, you can take that cruise. As a matter of fact, you might be able to take 2 or 3 cruises with this money. You have to almost give them permission to enjoy their retirement.
And that's exactly our role. I mean, in many ways, we're a coach for people, certainly a sounding board, but definitely a coach in sometimes allowing them to do what they didn't think was possible, or sometimes talking them back off a ledge when they're going to do something that's not in their best interest, or sometimes it's just reframing what's possible. Maybe it's not possible to be quite as extravagant as they thought, and we're able to help them with that because we have the professional education and experience and the financial tools to model out scenarios for people so they can actually see what can we really do. Do we need to revise our dreams, or can we actually have bigger dreams? We can help you with all that, and it's what we love doing. So come in for us. We can help you do a reality check, on your financials. That reality check is great help to people who really don't know what's possible. Can I really live my dream? Well, yes, or maybe not. Come in for the free reality check. We'll help you with that.
And that that free reality check is available to you listening right now. The phone number is 702-996-4050, 702-996-4050. That website, mygoldenyearsroadmap.com. Are you a big fan of The Who?
Oh, my heavens, yes. Pinball Wizard. Take me back to my youth. Roger Daltrey's a character, too. I love that guy. I'm dating myself here.
No, not at all. I mean, they're phenomenal. He's amazing. Did you happen to catch him on the farewell tour?
No, I guess I've been a little too busy to track all of that. There's so many farewell tours now that aren't really farewells. I don't know what happened with them.
The iconic rock band, they've gone on at least 3 tours that Roger Daltrey and Pete Townsend labeled their last. But after each one, they just unretired. So when a client comes to you and says they may want to come out of retirement, is it because they want to, they have to, they need the money? How does that conversation go?
It's every way you can imagine, and it's a wonderful thing because hopefully the health permits us to have a choice in this. Sometimes we don't have a choice, but many people do decide to re-engage. They find that after a bit of a break, kind of a sabbatical, they want to re-engage with life. They want to have more purpose, and they feel like the workplace is the place to do that. And so we do see about 18 months into retirement, many men have this tendency to want to kind of rebound into the workforce. Sometimes it's financial things, and they just want to work part-time. Maybe it's at Home Depot or whatever, but sometimes it's consulting. We're seeing a lot of consulting happening now where people are going back into their old employers and being hired on a part-time basis because their gray hair and experience has a lot more value now. So there's wonderful opportunities there. It doesn't have to be a permanent decision anymore where once you're out of the workforce, you're totally gone. There's many ways to come back in. So you just got to look at your situation, and we can certainly help people model out if they need to work or if it's just a choice. We can help people, whatever their preference is. If they want to go back into the workforce, we can show them ways to maximize that opportunity. If they want to stay retired, we can show you ways to maximize that. The beautiful lesson about all this is it doesn't typically have to be a permanent decision.
Right, exactly. I mean, you can kind of make tweaks as you go along, I guess?
Absolutely can, yeah. Many people are rebounding into the workforce. So, and this is critical because, a lot of meaning comes from work for people. People have to have a sense of passion and purpose. And for many people, that comes from the contributions they make to the world through their work. And so this is not altogether a negative thing. There's a lot of professionals, in particular, doctors and attorneys and the like, who just phase back and they end up in a semi-retired state. So they kind of have the best of both worlds. So, there's lots of opportunities here, and the future's about as broad as your imagination, really, for many people. It doesn't have to be a permanent decision.
Exactly. Again, if you want more information about this, how does it apply to you and your specific numbers, creating that custom income plan, that retirement plan, give a call today. Let's set up that time for you to meet with Mark one-on-one. Again, that phone number is 702-996-4050, 702-996-4050. That website, again, mygoldenyearsroadmap.com. So, Mark, what would you say makes you and your team there at Golden Years Financial? What makes you stand out from those other financial professionals out there?
Well, I think it's the fact that we're laser focused on helping middle-income America, normal mom-and-pop America, do three things exceptionally well. One is create income they can't outlive. And the second is to make sure that income is as tax-advantaged as possible. And third, that it be as protected as possible, particularly from health care kind of problems. And so we're a small firm compared to many, but that allows us. We're a six-person team here. We've got dozens of affiliates around the country, but at its core, we're a six-person team. And we really think of our clients as family. We do lots of social events with them, a lot of educational events with them. We've created a community with them where they are learning from one another and creating friendships with one another. And so we have always known who feeds our kids. And our clients, I think for the most part, very much are aware that they are our reason for being professionally. So we have all the tools of the big firms, access to teams of people all over the country for the expertise that's needed, but at its heart, we're dealing with mom and pop America, and we're helping them with those key problems that they have, and that is, how do we not outlive our money? How do we keep as much of it as possible from Uncle Sam? And how do we keep as much as possible from being dissipated for medical costs? So we do that exceptionally well, and would invite people to come visit with us and experience it for themselves. At its core, we're educationally oriented. We're not hardcore salespeople or anything like that.
Investment advisory services offered through Golden Years Financial LLC, a registered investment advisory firm. Insurance is offered through Golden Years Insurance Services. These firms do not provide legal or tax advice. Consult your own legal and tax advisors before taking actions that may have tax implications. Investing in securities involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Insurance contracts principal protection is based on the claim-paying ability of the respective insurer. None of the information contained on this website shall constitute an offer to sell or solicit to buy a security or insurance product. The information and opinions contained on this site or requested from this site are provided by third parties believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. They are provided for informational purposes only and are not a solicitation to buy or sell any of the products mentioned. Any media logos and or trademarks contained herein are the property of their respective owners, and no endorsement by those owners of Mark Cordner, Golden Years Financial, or Golden Years Insurance is stated or implied.